Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a new video in the Thuluth script. In today's video we are going to continue with the letter ba, and we're going to look into it when it's connected several times next to itself or to other ta, tha, ya, nun. So we're going to just do a quick recall to what we've done last time with regards to the connected ba with the letter Alef. And for that one we said that it's the one with 1.5 points of height, as you can see here, and we would have to go down to the right, then go to the left and leave 1 point between the two letters and come back upward. And I sort of went back and talked about this so that we could realize what we learned so far. And as we said, we've got these notes with regards to the angle here, the inclination to the right, and the drop, and the nice curvature on the outside. So this is the ba with the Alef. Now, a similar thing will happen when we connect it to a ba. So if you had ba ta or ba tha or two ba letters connected to each other, we are going to do the same moves that we've done here, going down to the right, curving and coming back for the 1.5 points, and leaving the 1 point distance between the two letters. And here we stop below the first move right here, so that when we write our ba, so it's half a point, when we write our ba now, because it's a ba and a ba, or ta and a ba, tab, we sort of have this lovely shape, because the ba by itself has to be 1 point higher, as we know, but we don't have the first move for the ba. That's why it sort of drops below the first move. So you're going to also add your 6 point of width right here. Again, is to sort of govern your letters and practice the correct way. You're going to add your 1 point down here, the one that you will have to drop below in order to write your letter. And right now you could start writing this letter just the same way we talked about, by going down. And here is what you will, where you're going to slightly move upward and then move down to finish your letter just the same way we talked about last time, and the curvature that would end here. So what happens here is that you would curve up a bit, then go down, as we said, for 3 points, then start transitioning into the curve that you have here. And this curve, I don't think we talked about it. This way you could govern your curve by adding this sort of, it's not half a point, but it's like a half the cut itself that will show you the tangents of these two curves together. And again, with regards to the circular motion here, that governs your end. So this is a ba and a ba, for example. They can connect. This is the way to connect. So what we've learnt now is that we have the option of connecting two bas next to each other in this way. Now there are other options. For example, if we had three next to each other, things will change. When you have three bats, or ba ta tha or bait, for example, you would start with 2 points of height, and this first move will change into a shorter one. We said we have three, so we have ba, ya, and a ta, and this is where we start to split the middle one and make it different than the other two. So we're going to start with the first one, which is going to be short. Immediately start changing to the curvature here, and you can see we have a curve here, then another that will go upward, and the distance between those two is 1 point right here. And for the middle one, this one that comes here, we're going to actually go back here to study it. So after doing the first move and going down and up, here you're going to add your 1, 2, 3 points of height. This letter is higher than the others. And the movement here would be like going up for an Alef, but then you will curve to the left quite earlier than an Alef. So you saw that there's a curve here, but then there's another curve that forces the letter to go left. This is the first sort of move, which you could divide into going up, then curving left. This way you could force yourself into going actually to the left. Then when you go back downward, you don't go down with the same curve here, no. You go down in a straight move like this. As you can see, you've got if you take a cross section from this part, and this part, you'll find that the top part is kind of smaller, but here it gets thicker. That's because you have two lines that are giving you double the thickness. When you went up the first move and you curved upward and went to the left, this gave you this shape. All right, and when you came back with a straightish line, you basically broke that barrier and you made your letter look thicker. Because as you can see here, this area and this area, when you go back, those are not sort of included in the middle intersection. So those two areas are not intersected. That's why the letter looks fatter in the middle. You have to keep an eye on that, so that when you go up and curve to the left, you know that when you go down in a straight line, so that it will give you this change in thicknesses throughout the height of the ya or ba or ta. And it is high, as we said, and it goes to the left, as we saw, due to the inclination of the curvature. So back to here, since we talked about that, and as we said, it's 3 points of height, so this would reach up to here, kind of. So we went up, we go up and curve to the left, then we come back in a straightish way. Then we have to break here like half a point. I want you to focus on this too. You see how this curvature points towards the top part? The same thing will happen when we continue and leave 1 point for the letter after it. Remember, as we said, we are going to write 3 letters. So this is number 1, number 2. The third one, when we break from here and go down and up, this one will point towards this part. So as you can see, it's like a flipped heart. And finally, we can again do our ba or ta or whatever. In this case, it would be a ta because we are writing the word bait. And our curve back here. Now, if you saw these cuts, these are just for me to stop and take some ink. It shouldn't be there. It should be like this shape. And the distance down here, it would be like a straight line, no ups and downs. And here you could put the dots for the word bait. Again, you start with a small one that is 1 point high, and the thickness of the lower part would be also 1 point. You leave 1 point between the two letters. The second one, or the middle one, that would be higher than the others, would be 3 points of height. All right, now this point should be going down here, so this is going to be 3.5 because I've got a half points here. So this is kind of a bit taller, but it will be taller than the other two by 2 points. Then when it comes back in this move, and you will have this 1 point distance between the two of them with half a point of distance below. Now the curvatures here, these ones, these show you that you need to go down, then up. It's not a straight line, it's not a drop and an angle, no, it's a curve and a curve. And that's why they put these small lines and sort of scales to show you that it is curvy, not straight. So this would be the word bait. Now, if you had four next to each other, what will happen in this case, and those four are close to each other, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start with 1 point, 1 point, 3 points, with a curvature to the left, straight downward, break, 1 point. And here is something that is kind of a bit different. Let's just drop this a bit more and stop up back here. So here what will happen is that we will change this because it is connected to something after it. So when a ba or a ta or a tha or a ya connects in the middle, it will change into this shape. So you will see that it is different than this one over here, the one that is sort of at the end of the letter. These ones have a very distinctive curvature this way. And this move basically makes the letter thinner, going down, then back to the left. You see how thin it became here. And this would be the exact same shape that we're going to use with the sin and the sheen later on. So it's important for you to notice this difference because this letter, or these moves, are different than this one. All right? So here we've got four next to each other. Why are we doing this? It's basically to know that when you have several nabirat, a nabira is this thing, several nabirats next to each other, we have to choose and use different shapes. This is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one. We do not calculate our nabirat by this shape because some people, when they learn Arabic in general, they think that this is the letter. No, this is the letter. This is the connection between the two letters. A letter would start from here and end here, for example. Then you will have a connection. Then this is the second letter where it goes up, then goes down, then it stops here. Then you will have a connection, next letter, stop, connection, next letter, stop. So you have to be very careful thinking about your letters and the boundaries of those letters. All right, because it will also help you putting the dots as we're going to see in a bit. So here we have 4. Let's see if we had an option for 4 or 5 and we need to put more space in between letters. So this is where the elongation, or like using a full bat size inside the word, comes in practice. So we're gonna write bayniya, for example, ba, ya, noon, and we're gonna make a long elongation for a noon, or baytiya, let's say, a long elongation for a ta, then a ya, then a ta marbuta. We still haven't learnt the ta marbuta, but we need to see how these 4 next to each other look like if we were to add a space in between them. So let's start with the ba. As we said, this would be simple, a 1 point high move, but then we're gonna go up for a ya, and this should go more to the left, and it will stop here, and we go back and do the letter just like we did in the previous one. Now what I want to do is add an elongation here which is the same as this letter, so I'm going to add a full bat letter which goes for 6 points, and the start of this bat letter would look just like the one that we did up here. It would look similar to a normal bat, going all the way down, and again you would use your word here to govern yourself with the height and drops, going all the way and stopping here. Now what happens here is that you will notice this would be higher. The same thing goes for this one. So when you connect a ba, the end of it will be higher than the start of it. And from here we are going to connect it to another ya that, as we shall see, will change into this shape. the thin one. You see what happened there? It is different than this one. Then we could go up for a ta marbuta, which is something that is similar to this one. Go down, exit, and finish it with a nice move, just like this. So never mind the ta marbuta, what you should keep an eye on are these shapes. So this basically contains the majority of the ba, ta, tha, ya, noon inside a word. At the beginning, the 1 by 1, then the 3 points, then the normal one that comes with a ba at the end of the word, or a ba that is elongated, or a ta or a tha. Then a one that is basically the connected short ones. So you can't use this and elongate afterwards. It might be a very rare case where you do this in other letters, such as the scene, because we have an elongated scene, but it does not work for elongated ba. So this is a special and only for short connections. You can always use this, which is the same one we use for the scene. This is a nabira. This is a nabira for elongated ones, or when it comes at the end, and this is the one where you're going to use when you have sort of 3 next to each other and you want to break between them. So the rule is that if you had 3 or more, the first one is short, the second one is tall, the third one is short, then whatever you want to do. That's basically the case. Now, if we were to sort of summarize what we just saw, we could change into a smaller pen and just make it easier for us to and quicker to write these things that we just saw. So we are going to start with the normal one that comes with the Alef. As we said, that one would be high, 1.5, goes down, then goes up with an Alef, just like this. Then we have the one that connects with a ba, which is going to be shorter than that one. And the ba here will be shorter, and we are going to connect it to this one. I'm going to finish it just like this. Now here, as you can see, this will drop, but this will be the same height. And this one would be shorter than that one, as you can see. So ba, ba, ba. Let's see the ba bait, for example. So this could be, I don't know, whatever. Ba, alif, banat, noon, and ta. Let's write bait. You would have a line down here. Going to use 1 point, 1 point, 3 points, down, 1 point of space, and these would be like next to each other. Then we're going to use the ta at the end of the word. And this would be the same height as this one. And again, with regards to the scale, you could write it. So here it could be bait, or it could be bint, ba, noon, ta. With regards to the dots, like, you could go back and just see how they are written properly, but I'm just trying to focus on the letters themselves. So here we've got 1 by itself, 2, 3, and if we had, for example, 4, and let's do it down here. Ba, uta, the next one. And here we are going to see the one that comes back, then drops down by becoming thinner, then it will stop here. And this would be the end one, so we're going to use the one for the end, as we see. And although it's not perfect, but I want you to, the ink is playing around, I want you to focus on this one. So you see here how this one curves and it is higher than this one here. So this is a middle one and this would go back to you. So this drops below. So he could write بينت أو بينت أو بنيت باء نون ياء and تاء. Now, you could also practice with the word اثنينية, which is basically these moves that we just did here. And اثنينية will give you this chance to basically write all shapes, except for the 1.5 one that comes with an alif. So, for اثنينية, you need a line. 7 points of height would be really high up to here. So don't mind the intersection with the upper line. Alef, this is actually taller than 7 point, but never mind. Here we have Alef. Tha, Nun. Goes down to a Ya. And I'm going to elongate the Ya, dropping down, coming back up, just like this, dropping down for the Ya and then Noon, and here is the Ta marbuta, but you could just stop here if you want. So اثنينية, I've got a Tha, Nun, Ya, Nun, Ya, and Ta marbuta. This way it will give you like an idea about the connected ones. These two are different. This is the one for when it comes with a Ba or Ta or Tha. It is different when it's with an Alef. So with an Alef it is higher, but when it comes with the smaller letter it becomes shorter. I hope this was a clear lesson. I know it's too much and you need to memorize sort of several shapes, but they're all important and they are kind of easy to sort of follow. You just have to take each one and study it carefully. So what I advise you to do is to break them apart. For example, after you feel confident about the shapes that you're producing, you could go back and make boxes of these shapes so that you could use them as a reference. You would go 1/2, this is my shape for the letter Alef, plus Alef, for example. Then 1 by 1 is the one I use with Ba, Ta, Tha, or some letters that, or the majority of letters except for some letters that we're going to look into later. So you'd write this one. Then you would be like, all right, if I have it in the middle, if it was just the two of them, the connection would be this, and my letter would look straight down, just like this. If I had 3 next to each other, I'm going to use this one, going up. So this is another one. Also, I've got the one that comes connected in the middle, but not at the end. This one, that has a curvature. And for this one, you could go back and really look into big shapes, because on the video it won't show. So I would advise you to go back and search for examples on the internet, and you could find a lot of them. So this one would be, because when you have the end or whatever, this curvature, when it goes up and it stops like the end of a Ba, you will have a sharp stop here. And the letter basically, when it continues, it will continue from this sharp stop and it will immediately curve downward just like this. So you will see that it is quite visible and it's quite different from the other one, which would be going up, stopping here, just like the previous one, and immediately moving downward with a straightish line, just like this. So it is different. It's quite visible when you see big scripts or big artworks out there. So this is for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I expect this would be the one for the letter ba, but we're going to look into ba with other scripts in the future. And for this one, I think you should just stick to the practices that I give you for the time being when you watch videos, so that in the future I would add more. And for example, letter ha, kha and jim, those have a lot of shapes, so that you would be able to write down notes like early, and just don't delay these things. Write them down, keep those papers, because you're going to need them in the future to revise and just practice more. Anyway, this has been Ammar Al-Audi. Like, share and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about Arabic calligraphy. Stay safe out there and have a lovely day, evening or night, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.